Welcome back. I'm Marianne Leffel, your host for today. This is Your Town. This is the news about you and your community. Today we've got a great segment on the Monterey Regional Airport. My guest is Michael LaPier, the Executive Director, and you're going to learn a little bit about the economics of the airport. So, Michael, the economics are the best, right?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, it's always fun to talk about these because people don't know the numbers. They don't know the impact.
So how many tenants does the airport have? It's in the hundreds.
It is. To give you a specific number, I'd have to go back to my staff and ask for that, but I can tell you that we generate about 2,400 jobs off of the airport through the community. We're responsible for that number of jobs. And the airport, its economic impact is over $300 million annually. So it's an engine that the community has that we're really intent on capitalizing on. I think we can do even better than that.
Well, I think it's exciting. So
it is.
We've got a flight-based operation, FBO, that is really just about top of the game in its world. It's fabulous, and it continues to grow. So I think people think maybe they know a little bit about that because they see the private jets and the private planes flying in and out of here. But I don't think a lot of people realize how many tenants there are either in hangars or on the north side of the airport.
Sure.
And some of those have been there for decades.
They have, and the jobs that are generated there. A lot of the north side really is jobs that are not airport specific. They could be anywhere, but they choose to be on the airport because it's convenient and it's easy to do business there. And that's one of the things that the board has done in the past and will continue to do, I believe, is try to make it as easy and convenient for business to be done on airport as possible. We have some development opportunities that we're working on, that we've continued to work on, that hopefully bring new and interesting businesses to airport and to the community. That really is our stock and trade in economic development. This is a little diamond in the rough, if you will, in terms of our ability to have further economic impact on the airport. And one of the charges the board has given me is to capitalize on that because it's unique in this community, in this region.
I think one of the interesting things too is the convenience of that side of the airport to Navy Postgraduate School and the tie-in with some of the military and Department of Defense operations that are on airport property.
Sure.
And it's pretty unparalleled of the convenience both to travelers and for people who are needing to do things with our military installations.
Very true. Our next door neighbor on the north side is Fleet Numerical. And we all know we know what Fleet Numerical does. I don't think anyone really has a good grasp on exactly what they do. But they're our next door neighbor. And the number of jobs they generate in the community and their proximity to the airport means we work together as closely as we can to make sure that they have a level of service, both commercial and corporate, that meets their needs. And we do that with the military throughout the region as well. Our relationship with military is probably stronger than it's been, and we think that that's important for this airport because of the potential of losing some of that impact for the community. We don't want the airport and service levels at the airport to be a reason for the military to say, let's go someplace else.
Well, I think DLI has just added, another 1,000 students annually, which, is a huge boon to our area, even though they're often heads down studying.
Sure.
They do get out and they do participate in activities around. They do a lot of volunteering. I don't think people really understand how many things, the Big Sur Marathon and parades and things that they volunteer their time at. But it also adds to that international culture that you and I were talking about earlier, that I think is really important because it's just one more facet of what makes our community so, I think, interesting.
You're right. And, military travels. And we worked with the military about a year ago to kind of mine what their travel needs were. And we found pretty quickly that just through defense travel services, they generate about 100,000 enplanements, people getting on airplanes a year out of Monterey and all of the installations that call Monterey home. That's a huge user of airport services. We need to be talking with them. We need to make sure that they're happy. And that's a role that we happily take on, and we're working closely with them to make sure that we understand what their needs are, and then we challenge them to help make sure that their needs are met.
So let's talk about one of the things. I think the airport's a really good neighbor to the surrounding communities. And one of the things that I'm actually very happy with is the fact that the Delray Oaks had a storage yard, and they have now consolidated with a piece of land that the airport had that was kind of underutilized.
Right.
And we were able to accommodate their needs and to move that storage yard off of Highway 218, which gives Delray Oaks an opportunity to more fully develop their potential.
Right.
So I think that type of thing with the surrounding community is a really good reach out from the airport.
I think so. I think it makes a lot of sense for us to do that. And collaboration for the airport district is something that we really need to encourage, not just with Delray Oaks, and certainly there are opportunities there that we continue to explore. The RV park in September will be a new endeavor on airport property, and will give Delray Oaks the opportunity to do something different with the land on 218, which really is one of their front doors. So we wish them well with their redevelopment or reuse of that property. We're happy that we could collaborate with them. It's a revenue gain for the airport too, and clearly that's important to us. We are different entities, and we all live on how much money we can generate. The airport particularly lives on that because we don't get property taxes. We don't get tax revenues. We generate our own revenues through rates and charges. So the more activity we can generate on the airport, the more economically viable and healthy the airport can be. But it's important for us to work with our neighbors as well, our other agencies and entities. And we're just starting to explore where that line of thought can go in terms of collaboration and coordination.
No, I think it's exciting, and I think it's something the community has no idea goes on a day-to-day basis. And it's not that we're not transparent, it's just who has the time or the energy to read everything that goes on in a community.
Right.
But it is one of those, I think, small successes that we've had this past year, and it's been a nice working relationship. But as you said, it does allow Delray Oaks to kind of clean up its front door and change its image, and we had the space, so why not?
It does. And there are efficiencies that we bring to the table when we work collaboratively and coordinate that both agencies and entities can enjoy. And we think that that's the broader context of that statement can be seen in our growing relationships with the city of Monterey and with Seaside and with others. And we want to explore those opportunities to see how much more efficient we can make our little corner of the world called Monterey Regional Airport.
I want to talk about something that we hear, which is the noise. And I think the airport's done a really good job of working with FAA. Sometimes FAA didn't always do a good job of working with the airport. But to work to mitigate the impact on the neighborhoods. There are some neighborhoods that are developed after the airport was there that are fully within the flight path, and there's not much you can do about the flight path because the runways only go a certain way and planes have to land on them.
Very true.
But I do believe that through your efforts that we've really, I think, accommodated to a great degree and worked with FAA to try to make that a better neighbor.
We think that that's important for us. to do. I think it's incumbent upon us to, first of all, recognize the airport will generate noise. By virtue of what we do, it's going to generate noise. But just saying that is not a cure for people's concerns. So we have to listen to those concerns, and we have to do what we can. Understanding the basic premise here is the airport does not control air traffic control. The skies are owned and operated by the Federal Aviation Administration. We again provide that bridge between the community and the FAA, just like we do with the airlines. We do it with FAA, to try to coordinate efforts so that we make sure that they know what the concerns are about the community, and we do what we can and encourage them to do what they can to fly friendly, if you will, and that's important. And I think we've had some successes. Our instrument approaches, which are the lifeblood of this community, and when the fog hits, the ability for the airport to continue to operate is driven by our instrument approaches, because those are what the airline pilots use, or the pilots of aircraft use to find the airport.
That's their eyes, right?
That's their eyes. And the better our instrument approaches are, the better reliability you'll see out of the airport. But it also gives us the opportunity to direct traffic so that it can be a little less impactful on our community and our neighbors.
So it's good. So I think people need to be aware that we do not take it lightly, and we work as much as we can with both the control tower, which has its own set of rules and, or not, and FAA, and with the airlines and with private pilots. I mean, it's a dance, and when you live in an area that is this close to the ocean, sometimes the weather doesn't always cooperate with what people want.
It's part of life here, and we have to encourage FAA and our partners to respect that and be resourceful in how they address the airport and its air traffic needs, and in doing so, help them understand what the concerns are from the community. Now, we know that we generate noise, and I'm never going to tell anyone that we won't generate noise, and I don't think it would be a truthful statement to say anything like that. But to the best of our ability, we can provide that bridge and help everyone understand, so that there's a little bit of shared pain, but a little bit of shared gain as well.
So one of the nonprofits that we're a partner with is the Salinas Air Show.
Right.
And next month they will have some big equipment in here.
They do. Yeah.
And then I understand they're going to have the Thunderbirds in next March.
Yes.
So I find that just exhilarating. I think for me, it's like the sound of freedom, and I love it. But there are those who do not.
That's
so,
true.
I think that people have to understand it's a very short window of time. It is really the lifeblood for a lot of nonprofits that receive funding through the air show and its operations. Same thing with the Car Week. Same thing with the opportunities that we have during AT&T. All of those things filter back out in the community. So, a little bit of pain, but quite a bit of gain, I think.
Absolutely.
And the airport is, I think, a proud partner with all of those.
And we should be with all of those, and we should grow our presence with all of those, because just as we want our industries and our major employers and employment sectors to be happy and healthy and grow in this community, we want our events, which we're well known for throughout the world, to be successful as well. And our small part can be a great deal larger than what it is, and I think it's important that we work with them to do what we can to play a larger role in their success.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. One thing I want to touch on, I know that we have a strategic plan that we've been working on for some time, really, because it's a huge undertaking. But it's an FAA mandated change that has to be made at the airport.
Correct.
Because the terminal is too close to the center of the runway.
Well said.
So I think people have to understand that this isn't something we just decided that, oh, let's remodel a terminal. So hopefully people are going to see some changes over the next 5 to 10 years after we get through all of the legal process and the timing. But it's important that people understand that it is an FAA safety issue.
It is.
Same thing we did with the ends of the runways when we did the runway safety project. That was federally mandated by Congress that it had to be done, and we had a deadline on it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What people don't understand, and to the point that it's federally mandated, give you an example. When Alaska Airlines pushes back their aircraft from the terminal building, we have to close our primary taxiway while they push that aircraft back, because the taxiway is too close to the terminal, and the terminal is too close, or the taxiway is too close to the runway. So it's kind of a stepped process here. And when FAA looks at that, and we've been operating this way for some time and we'll openly admit that, FAA looks at that and says, we've given you a waiver for long enough. It's time for you to address this safety problem. And that's what the effort is right now. And it's called a master plan, and it's a 20-year vision for what the airport would develop like if the need arises. But it's all driven by that safety concern in proximity between the taxiway and the runway, and the taxiway and the terminal building.
and it's better to be in front of it than
Absolutely.
after something happens.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really good.
Yeah.
So and anyway, I obviously love the airport, or I would not have been involved with it, and hope to continue to be involved for some time as we work through some of these changes, and in some cases improvements, in some cases just a different way of doing business. So.
Yeah, there's always a need to look at the potential to refine, to make sure that you're doing business better or differently, so that it meets the needs of the community and meets the needs of the industry. And that's something that the board recognizes, and that's the attitude that they share as board members, and they want the airport to do well. And you can't ask for better board members. You can't ask for a better attitude in board members than that. They want the airport to do well.
I think everybody's there for the right reason.
I think so.
So,
Yeah.
Michael, thank you so much.
It's my
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
So-
I appreciate the opportunity.
So thank you for joining us, and maybe you've learned a little bit more about the Monterey Regional Airport, and I would just say one thing to you: fly Monterey. This is your town. Thank you.